Welcome to the Underdog Cup. So we got another short tournament. It's going to only last for 2 weekends. We have the best of the worst, basically, or the worst of the best. We'll talk about that in a second. But we have another tournament for the amateur scene. So this is going to bridge a little bit between the Eternal Conflict, which we just finished, and Meta Madness, which is coming up next. Small tournament for the amateur teams down here in Division 4 and Division 5, which is the lowest divisions of Heroes Lounge. So meaning that we're going to get to see the lower end of the Heroes of the Storm player base, the competitive Heroes of the Storm player base, and how exactly they adapt to the patch. Now keep in mind, the Eternal Conflict was the first tournament where we had the new patch in action on the highest level. The patch kicked in around Group B, so we had the Last Chance Group B obviously, and then also the playoffs all played out on the new patch, and now we have it here on the lower end, so we can see a little bit of how things change. Now when we're talking about this level, then we have obviously a lot of players that are maybe around gold, a little bit better, a little bit worse, and it depends a bit on which team exactly we're looking at. But there's a lot of fun involved, interesting builds that sometimes pop up, certain preference picks that they all have. And in this case, we now have Fischers, Frische Fische on the left. And I'm not going to do that every single time I talk about them. Against Team Space over on the right. And yeah, it's it's going to be a fun one. I like the Underdog Cups because it just shows you some real fun stuff, and all of the participating teams usually have a lot of fun participating in a tournament environment where they can also play for a little bit of prize money, which is put up by me for this event here. But we have our bands kicking in. There's a best of 3 series that we're starting off with, and heroes can only be played once within the same series, so we're already having a little bit of a prep for Meta Madness, so to say, when you also have pre-bans. That's at least the whole idea of what we're running here. The blue team literally naming themselves after a tongue twister. So the only thing that we're missing is Team Space going for how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, or something along those lines. But they went for the German variation on this. So don't worry if you didn't understand anything earlier or you can't pronounce it yourself. That's to be expected. Now, Diablo and Nubara get banned out, so it seems like they're targeting the front line, and they left Jojo open, which now means that Fischer's Fritz immediately comes in and takes it. Also, another fantastic account name, Pedro. Yeah, the Spanish Johanna is now coming in. But again, Spanish Inquisition, Templar kind of fits from a theme perspective at least. Now, the one thing that you have to realize is that most of the teams actually know each other a little bit, right? They've been playing in Heroes Lounge for years. It's the best environment to play in an amateur scene if you want to, so check them out if you haven't yet. But because they are usually familiar with the opponent or have a lot of data that they can fall back onto to see what kind of picks they're going for, a lot of the bans that you will see might not necessarily make sense from a meta perspective, but it could be that they're just analyzing what is the opponent usually trying to get away with and ban that out. Now, on a strategy level, what Team Space, a Division 5 team, is currently doing is something that I personally really like a lot. We get Stukov and Varian. I've been preaching, by the way, to the lower divisions for years that Stukov Varian plus burst damage is an amazing thing to do, and that it's very easy to execute if you just practice it a little bit. So when we're talking about team compositions, it's one of the things you should have in your arsenal. So I'm always happy when I do these Underdog Cups, when I see a team attempt it at least. We have Vala and we have Rega. Kati, by the way, is currently subbing in for Fischer's Fritz. And the blue team is a Division 4 team. So they are at the upper rank of Division 4, whereas Team Space is in Division 5. That is the lowest division. But to my knowledge, in the current season, they're actually very high up in the standings, at least at this point in time. Just to give you a little bit of a power level between the two. So just from an objective perspective, the blue team should have a bit of an edge here. We've seen tons of upsets though in the last few Underdog Cups, so there's that. And in comes Liming. There's our last ban for Infernal Shrines. This is a good example. Liming would normally not be picked or played on a higher level, right? Because Infernal Shrines is not really a Liming map, but here it's more so about personal preference than anything else. Leo and Chromie, so there's where our burst damage is already in, and with Leoric we have also a bit more clear on the objective. They could go for a triple frontline with this one too. And as a blue team is about to pick. But as I said before, heroeslounge.gg is the website. They have a really active Discord channel as well. You can sign up for this amateur scene. It doesn't cost anything. There's no entrance fee. Everybody can sign up, and it really doesn't matter what level you're playing at. If you're playing in Wood League and Plastic League, that's totally okay too. You will be given a team, and you can just, you know, play with like-minded people and have a little bit more fun on a competitive side, you know, preparing for an opponent, thinking about strategies with your friends, and not just queuing solo all day for Storm League, for example, or Quick Match. So if you're interested in that, you should check them out. They've been around for ages, and they're the biggest amateur scene that we have. They are from Europe. You don't have to be from Europe. You have to play on the European server, but you can also play if you are from North America, for example. You just have to try and figure it out with the times. Greyman is our last pick. We got Malthael, we got Junkrat, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to go. Infernal Shrines is our first map in the best of 3 series here. We're early in the bracket of our Underdog Cup here. Well, let's head straight in. Fischers, Fritz against Team Space. Fischers, Fritz, Frische Fische on the left with Mixon on Junkrat. We got Oleander on Rhaegar. So when he doesn't sell wands in Diagon Alley in Harry Potter Land, then he plays Rhaegar apparently. We got Pedro on Joanna. Kati is subbing in for the team today, playing Vala here for the boys in blue. And we got Smokey on Malthael as over on the right side. Team Space with Amphora on Leoric. Quibi on Chromie. We got Fox on Stukov. Owlphilia, great name, with Varian, and Setsa is playing Greymane in game number 1. And we get a multi-shot build. Multi-shot build for Vala. And by the way, for everybody that skipped the draft, I want to emphasize this once again. Underdog Cup means that we are looking at the amateur scene, and specifically here at the lower end of the skill level. So we have Division 4 and Division 5 teams playing here, and this is a fun, light-hearted tournament. I put up some prize money for it, and I also want to give these teams, you know, a chance to just show their skills a little bit, dip their feet into, or their toes into the competitive realm, and maybe at some point also participate in other tournaments here. But this gives us a bit of a glimpse into the meta of the new patch on the lower level. Now we just had the Eternal Conflict, so obviously there we had the high end, we have Meta Madness coming up soon, and this is just a little innocent fun as we are jumping towards the lower end and see what our gold and plat players are doing here. And the occasional bronzy as well, I suppose. One cap already taken. Jojo's a little bit low here. Pedro needs to be careful. Oh, and he eats the damage like a boss. Oh boy, so Johanna is already down. We have Malthael currently riding between the middle and the top lane, just trying to get the damage out. I kind of like it again. They're trying to ensure that they're getting the maximum amount of experience. With a new patch, you have to be more diligent around these rotations. And Malthael is currently attempting to match Leoric, who is basically doing the same thing. 4 stacks already. Leo is a little bit low though, but the red team has now moved towards the middle in order to take over here. Leoric being pushed back a bit, and the next camp is about to be claimed by Fischers Fritz. So they're coming in immediately, taking 2 of the 3 camps. They were even trying to invade earlier, of course. And yeah, we'll see what exactly they can do from here on out as they're pushing for some structures, if that's going to translate directly into it. So now that they're starting to make a play, they have still a camp that they can use for that push. They have to, of course, be careful because Taunt is now available for Varian, and with that in play, this entire idea around Taunt Varian into Stukov is going to start taking form. So Chromie will follow up with damage, and, well, Greymane as well, obviously. So we'll see how much value they can get out of all of this. That's basically the idea here. But, well, as it stands, we're now having Malthael all the way topside, still in the 1v1. We get more and more stacks for Vala, and the real party is going to kick off as we're having our first objective activated on the map. And yeah, it should be quite a little bit of fun. This time it's going to be a Mortar Punisher. Bot lane has already taken some damage, so if the blue team takes this one, then they should be in a pretty good position to go for the fort directly. Chromie with a proper greeting. The only proper greeting in this game is, of course, a big slap to the face. No Abathur so far, unfortunately, but I hope that we're going to get him eventually in this one. But yeah, here comes Jojo trying to control the Shrine. Same also, of course, true for Junkrat. A lot of space control that he adds and the poke from a distance, so they're starting to take a bit of a lead here, but they're not too far ahead. Vala has now a perfect environment to get hits in. Doesn't really follow up on that condemn from Johanna though. But yeah, could get a lot of connects and is able to lock in a few more. All of these fights on the shrines when the opponent clusters are great for her. So if she's able to work around the cooldown, then that would be pretty fantastic. So Vala already up. Well, it gets only 2 more. Is sitting at 11. That there's a kill for a kill as the 2 side laners go down. Maltha and Leoric are both gone. And with 34 to 22 stacks, it is the red team that is ahead. Vala diving in deep, and they get the kill against Greymane. Vala vaulted out, but Junkrat is at the ready. Makes sure that he gets the hits in. And now all of a sudden, we're having the blue team about to claim the objective. But Leo spawns, comes in, gets the swing, and takes the Mortar Punisher. That was a clutch one, though. Yeah, that nearly backfired. It was mega close there. The blue team was about to take it, and it would have really helped them to push the bottom. Talking about pushing, Malthael is getting pushed to the limit in the middle. The taunt is there. A little bit late on that. Yeah, well, he doesn't escape anyways. Was a little bit late there on the lurking arm. He was able to jump out of it first, but still, that would have been nice. So they are pushing in the middle as the Punisher is busy down at the bottom of the map. It has easily been defended by Fischer's Fritz. But we have, for now, more damage done in the mid lane, and the blue team is trying to go for a camp. So, lots of aggression that we're getting from both of the teams here. 5 kills in total by now. We have 12,000 damage for Junkrat and 8,500 for Chromie as the respective top damage dealers on this. So, by now, the 1v1 up at the top is still being played out. Still very even here. I suppose with level 10 we're going to see the dynamic change a bit and see which team is starting to pull ahead. But at least for now, we're having lots of aggression from both of them as they're trying to get the lead in the game. Stacks, of course, coming together too. For Vala, this is going to be super important as the game continues. She's currently at 12 stacks, but can really bring a lot of damage in for the Shrine fights in particular, but even beforehand. And should, until we have the second objective, at a minimum complete her level 1 quest. So that would obviously help quite a lot because he gets that extra damage in here, which he's looking for. Malthael, he's dead again. So, yeah, he's eliminated. He's taken down. And that is kill number 4 for Team Space. Which, I have to remind everybody again, is currently in Division 5. Playing against the Division 4 team here. Now level 10 is at the ready for both of them. We don't get any surprises here. Last Rites is in. We get the Ancestral Healing for Rhaegar. We have also the Riptire. Red team is getting a bit more aggressive. They are obviously running a team composition that is fully designed to take heroes down. I talked about this during the draft, but that's the idea behind playing Varian plus Stukov here. So the blue team just needs to be careful that they don't lose too many heroes in the process, and they should be fine as things progress. But there's a nice attack against Chromie. She gets the heal though. And then gets Riptire to death. Yeah, well done by Junkrat. Mixin with some really cool plays so far. He was able to get the kill earlier as Vala had to retreat. Went in with a grenade and took her down. And now we see him with a kill against Chromie, which opens up another potential push alley for the blue team. They're triggering the Inspire buff on the minions. And they're trying to do their thing. They can just weave another auto attack in here. It's a bit too late already. Minion wave is basically gone. But very nicely done. And the quest on Vala's side is now completed, which means more damage with multi-shot. So fantastic for the Shrine fights. Not only because you are working more towards the objective, but also because you dish out more damage against the opponent. So for Vala, that's already good news, as the next Shrine is coming up. And teams are now trying to go for their Shaman camps. Both of them. Greymane has made the move over on the right side too. Chromie now with the timeout available. That would have helped her a bit earlier, for sure. Yep, and I want to see how much of an impact Vala has. But the blue team is a little bit late to the party. It's level 12 versus level 12, but we already have the first 10 minions go straight to Team Space, so they have a slight advantage here. But in comes Jojo. Taunt on Rhaegar. Chromie wanted the damage. Rhaegar nearly dead, but they turn it. And Oleander is playing it safe. Ancestrals himself, but is running out of mana. So this is starting to become a bit of a problem. Definitely need some globes here, or at least go back to the fountain and tap that. Last Rites not used just yet. There it is! And gets the kill on Varian. Varian is dead, and Team Space is slowly retreating here. Slowly falling back as the blue team is about to lock in their first Punisher. Vala with a bit more damage and stacks on level 1, of course, as well, but this should help them to break through that wall easily and try and go for the fort. Quick reminder, everybody, Punishers cannot be baited over the walls anymore, so they jump in front, and then you have to deal with it there. Usually ends up with them doing a bit more damage, but structures, of course, now also have 12.5% additional health, which obviously offsets all of this a little bit. Yeah, and Vala is getting her damage together here, sitting at 28 stacks right now. As this progresses, she's gonna keep stacking, and get more damage out, always working around the cooldown here. But it's a nice attack through the middle from the blue team, and they're getting the first fort. So, bit of a successful push for them, I'd say. Top side also, the Shaman camp of Fischer's Fritz was able to take the wall out. And there's the camp that is about to get claimed. Pedro is a bit low, and Greymane goes for the kill. Jumps in and takes him down. Well, jumped in a little bit too deep, I suppose. Nice Entomb! Where's the damage follow-up? Well, there it is. That's Junkrat gone and Malthael eliminated. So this was a really, really nice turn by Leorki. He basically sees the opportunity in the choke points to get the ult out as the retreat is there, and gets 2 of them. I mean, if he gets a few more, if he goes a little bit further, he might be able to catch even more of them. But that turned the entire fight around. In total, the blue team lost 3, so now we have 7 kills to 5. But Vala also is keeping her stacks up. She's now sitting at 33. Leorg is not the only one that capitalized on the choke point position. So Vala was able to connect a lot of dots there. So right now, when we're looking at the damage output, she's not top damage. She's still trailing Junkrat, but she's at 28,000. And that's a decent amount of siege damage too. Talking red team, 23,000 for Chromie is what we're currently working with. And yeah, Rhaegar, full mana by now, moving straight towards the top lane once again. The red team, I mean, Varian is obviously looking for anybody that's foolish enough to go into one of those choke points without double checking first, and could land a quick taunt here. Maybe on Jojo. Yeah, lurking arm, and Joanna is nearly dead. Oh, throws out the blessed shield, gets the ancestral, and dies regardless. So it took them a little bit longer to get the kill, but they were able to pull it off. Nicely done by the red team. If the coordination would have been a little bit better, they could probably have insta-blown her up, but this was still well played. And it shows again the power of having Varian plus Stukov. Another taunt would of course work too, but this is how they're working their kills in, and now they are about to hit level 16. So it is 5 kills to 8, and they're really starting to get there. It's a 16 talent advantage for just a few seconds. And we can also have, of course, a look at the experience in general. So the blue team is a bit better when it comes to soaking the lanes and getting the minion experience. They are trailing heavily in hero XP though, but it is partly offset by the fact that they already eliminated a fort and have therefore an increase in passive experience. So that helps them at least to some extent. Now, the next objective, the next shrine, is coming up in a few more seconds. And this is really where things are going to also come a little bit to a head, I would assume. We have with 16 on both sides Manticore in play. Shaman camps have again been taken. As we've seen in previous objectives already, the blue team is a little bit faster with their... Sorry, the red team is a bit faster in the rotation and take the early advantage. And with Malthael still trailing behind, we had the blue team waiting this out for just a second. Vala with good stacks, but can they push them back? Varian is looking the entire time for a good taunt target. Wants to go for the damage. Blessed Shield completely whiffs. They get the damage in with the Riptire, but Blessed Shield went nowhere. There's the taunt! And Malthael still got the last rights through, and the Ancestral keeps him in play. Greymane got murdered by Malthael's ult on the other hand. So that's bad news, and now the blue team once again in the lead on the objective, with Vala getting big AoE damage out. Junkrat the same, of course. Mixin just staying at the side here, also trying to assist a little bit more for the rest of the team. And there's the Arcane Punisher. An easy one to grab for Fischer's Fritz. So in our first round of the tournament, we have a nice back and forth on the first map. 6 kills to 8 now. And maybe an opportunity for the blue team to take another fort out, which would help them, of course, with their experience gain. They already have a half-level advantage now over the opponent, and taking down that fort is certainly going to help. That's definitely true. 49,000 damage now from Mixin's Junkrat, and we have Vala on 40,000 damage. Chromie on 40k as well. And they're still doing damage here. I mean, they're able to, potentially able to take that wall out. Yeah, move back. Can maybe even go towards the... For a second I was thinking maybe they can go towards the middle. That fort is already gone. Top lane, too far. So they're just falling back towards camps on the map and take those. Obviously boost their experience even further. Right now we are seeing them with essentially a 1-level lead over the opponent's team. And it's getting a little bit more tricky for Team Space. They're starting to struggle here. They got a lot of kills. They're still adding kills, but they just can't translate them into anything. They weren't able to do anything with the objective earlier. They lost 2 of their forts. They haven't been able to take one out themselves. So all of that is a bit nasty. And for the blue team, it seems like they finally found their rhythm a bit here. Leorki waiting at the sides. Nice. Checking the bush. And instantly pushing Amphora back. Now, they are dominating the map right now. If you're thinking red team, then they have little vision, as you can see here. They're taking a bit of a closer look, so they don't really know what's happening. There's a push going through the middle, so they spot Rhaegar here. But this is essentially it. They know Junkrat is top side, but they are essentially pinned down right now. So it is the blue team that is currently dominating the rotation and is now attempting to collapse onto the top side fort to take this one out as well, or at least pressure it further. Jojo is holding the line here at the side, trying to slow the team down a little bit. And is able to get away initially, and then this happens. Another murder and tomb, and Joanna is gone. It is a bit of a problem. Her dying like this is tricky. The thought behind it is obviously a good one. You anchor the flank, you're trying to give your people information on when exactly the red team tries to rotate topside. But you always need to make sure that when that happens, you stay alive and don't all of a sudden get randomly killed. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. So for the blue team, that's another setback, and it allows Team Space to potentially come back a little bit. There's no objective up right now, and there's no camp. So the only thing that they can do is either spread out and get themselves some extra experience, or attempt to push for structure, which is what they're doing. Also with the added context of the next objective spawning at the top. So that's another one to really watch out for. We got Amphora at the bottom of the map. He's obviously the one to try and help the team catch up. We're gonna have level 20 in just a moment. That should give Vala also her Manticore. Sorry, her Farfetch'd Quiver. More synergy there. And yeah, for the objective, I guess we will have both on level 20 talents. Leo has to stay at the top, at the bot lane a little bit longer, I guess, and wait for another wave. But generally speaking, they're close enough to make this a Storm talent versus Storm talent battle. And as you would expect, oh, we actually get Acrobat. Okay, without an arrow build. Alright, Acrobat for Vala, and no one can stop death. Also, Jojo, blinded by the light, goes for the shield. They're taking the early position on the shrine. Pull a little bit ahead here, but Leo is now moving up. He pushed the bot lane out a bit further, and the minion waves are now attacking the fort. But they need to do something at the top here. Leo hasn't completed his quest yet, but they have level 20. So now with Leorki, if he lands another Entomb as previously, and he does right there, they might be able to get another kill, and they do. Jojo is dead again. She's getting absolutely murdered in these fights. Last rites, though, turns it a bit as Leorki gets killed too. Joanna fell 5 times so far. 5 deaths on Jojo. And now we're seeing them jump in once again, trying to reclaim the position. Yeah, unsuccessful, at least to this point. But Varian, he gets targeted by Vala and goes down. So 29 points to 14 right now on the objective, and the blue team with the upper hand once again. 4 versus 3 situation. They're going for Setzer, and they take Raymain out. Malthael dies in the process, but they still will be able to get themselves that Punisher fairly easily. So nicely done. That's a push to the top that will at a minimum eliminate the fort. So that's the last fort that was still in play that is now gone. 3 stacks for Malthael also means that he has now a 15-second cooldown reduction on his ult, which is of course quite comfortable too. Bot lane, mid lane, both getting pushed out by minion waves. Vala by now on 52 stacks for her level 1. So a neat little damage boost that we're getting right there. I mean, again, it's not too insane, but this is still an additional 100 damage with every single ability well, with every single multi-shot that he throw out there. And it's gonna help. And she keeps stacking them. So they are making a play for the Orky, but Junkrat gets caught and dies. Stukov, on the other hand, he's eliminated, which means that the sustain is now gone. Leo is mega low, and they're targeting the keep. There's only 3 pushing at this point in time, so they have to be a bit cautious. But the keep is down to 50% of its HP. Bot lane also getting pressured. Somebody will have to defend here, because that's a wall for free that is currently taken out. And even in the middle, a lot of this has already fallen. So this is still a big plus for Fischer's Fritz. And they're taking a massive leap forward now. On talents, it's not really a big deal anymore. I mean, yeah, even if they take a level advantage, get a bit of a stats advantage over the opponent's team, but it's not like they're running a talent advantage anymore. But taking all of those forts out just makes all the plays for objectives easier for them. And they essentially control the map right now. So they're looking very, very strong here in game number 1. Still behind in kills, but that's also partly because of the compositions that are getting played here. Definitely playing a bit of a factor in all of this. But well, right now we're having the blue team looking for opportunities again. One of the problems that they obviously had throughout all of this is that they are struggling to keep Johanna alive. And Johanna with 5 deaths at the front line dying, that's a problem when it happens just before an objective spawns or we have the big team fight. So they need to be a bit more cautious when it comes to that. So yeah, time will tell what exactly is going to happen on that end. But there's definitely a lot of things. They just need to keep Jojo a little bit alive. Because if they don't, then there's a lot that can still be done from the perspective of the red team to try and turn this one around. And they want to, obviously. They're going to be looking for opportunities here to somehow turn the game around. And the only question is really, do they find a way? Cam gets stolen. So that's one quickly taken away. Nothing to be done about here. Nice poke at the top 2. So they're just continuing the party with this. And honestly, like, poking at the top side keep makes a lot of sense. You have a lot of characters, especially Junkrat, that can poke from a distance. If you have any chance to take that keep out, then you should go for it. The next objective spawns in the middle. So if you're setting your camp up towards the top, and then you have, for example, also some catapults push with this, that core could be under siege. We're now 21 minutes into the game. Red team is clearly looking for some opportunities. Blessed Shield misses again. Pedro, leave the tequila at home for once. That's the kill on Rhaegar. And, well, can they get a counter kill on at least Leoki? That's not quite the same thing. Varian goes down instead. And Leo is still mega low, but he's gonna get a heal too. So Rhaegar eliminated, but Varian is also gone. The Shrine activating in 15. That's still possible to fight back here, but I gotta say, it's Team Space really fighting tooth and nail to somehow stay in this game, dig their heels in, and turn this around. They haven't really been too lucky yet, but they're always good for another kill. Now, the problem, of course, is that Rhaegar is coming back faster, and the blue team is already on the Shrine, and is starting to do their work here. So, we'll see. This is gonna be a frozen Punisher too, so... if there's no kills for Team Space, then I don't know. Rhaegar isn't here yet, so they should be a bit careful with how deep they engage. Maybe keep somebody on that Shrine. But they get the kill on Stukov, and with Malthael dying, he can buy back, but they kill everybody else. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. They get the big hits in and now move through the top lane. Alright, that fight worked way better than initially expected for them. But they did a great job and can now go straight up for the core. Varian is back, but he's the sole survivor. And he's the only one that can try and defend. Shouldn't really chase him too much. They can just go straight up for the core. There's catapults already working on it too. They have completely abandoned the idea of going for the objective in the first place. Rhaegar is now arriving and can get those heals out. And that's game. It is Fischer's Fritz, everybody. With 30 kills in the game, they are able to win it. Nicely done. And a pretty awesome first map for our start into the Underdog Cup here. Well done. GG. We're going to head straight into game number 2, but before we do, once again guys, if you enjoy the coverage on the channel here, if you enjoy the match, please like and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. It also helps to boost the game to an even wider audience. And of course, it helps to get people back into Heroes of the Storm, as the algorithm recommends the videos to people that were interested in Heroes of the Storm in the past. So again, before I continue, if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to the channel and like the video. Appreciate it. And with that, we're heading straight into the second map of the series. Map number 2, Blue Team has taken the lead in the best of 3 series. Now again, we have a winner bracket and a losers bracket here, meaning whoever drops in the series will find themselves in the losers bracket with another chance to go all the way to the grand final. Now we're going to Garden of Terror, which is actually pretty cool because it's a map that was not in the last tournament in the map pool. So this is the first time that we see it in a competitive environment in the new patch. Now obviously this is still in the context of this being the lower level of the scale, but on the lower end of the scale. But on Garden of Terror, they basically just made the Garden Terrors stronger. They scale significantly into the late game, and we have them, I think, with also 12.5% additional health. So they should be a lot more powerful now if you properly push with them. So we're going to get our first glimpse on what that means when we're talking about a tournament. And we'll see how much the blue team and the red team are going to be able to use that to their advantages here. As a quick side note, again, heroes can only be played once. So this is already going to impact the draft here. With 10 heroes now out of the rotation, that means that you have to think about like different things that you can now do. And this will definitely impact some of these teams here. Keep in mind, when we're talking about the top level, for example, even when we're going to something like... Okay, Meta Man is a little bit different. But if in the top end we have a rule where every hero can only be played once, in a best of 3, that's obviously going to impact the viewing experience quite a lot. And for some players, it might push them a bit out of their comfort zone, but not too much. Most of these guys have really deep hero pools where they can swap heroes out easily. When we're talking about the lower end, where people don't play as much, we oftentimes are sitting in a situation where you have just simply someone that, you know, that plays like 2-3 heroes. So if those are all of a sudden gone, that's where chaos reigns. This is going to happen in best of 5s more so than in best of 3s, but even in the best of 3 series, you could see some picks and some players where there's like, I gotta look up a build here. Which is half the fun, obviously, of all of this happening in the first place. But we start things off with Dehaka for our big map. We got Garrosh and Anduin. So the Crybaby is already in play. With Zeratul now banned out too. But it's gonna get interesting here. Sylvanas and Brightwing. So already 2 globals. They went for a double global right from the get-go. And with Sylvanas, you can easily push these side lanes too. There's a lot that they can do with that if they play it right. You have your global tools with Brightwing, Dehaka, they could even add more later. And then you have Sylvanas who can always solo push on a lane. And there's immediately Arthur's also getting banned. So, Arthur's is out. It's an interesting ban. When I see an Arthur's ban like this, there's 2 options. A, the opponent plays a lot of Arthurs and you know it. B, you're trying to play Illidan. Because Greyman is already gone. So, Arthur's back in the day was a tool to shut Illidan down. I would absolutely love for them to just pick Illidan here. That would be funny as hell. I would actually like that. This would be so cool if they did it. But I guess we'll see. Falstad is banned. So with them running 2 globals, they're essentially shutting down any kind of tool from the opponent to use that. Zarya or Fia. Okay, talk about 2 that I didn't expect. Are we gonna get a Vikings ban or something along those lines? That would be fun too. Have your strong 4-man with Garrosh, Zarya. I'm still waiting for a bit of a crazy pick from the blue team, not gonna lie. Kalthas and Nunubarak on the other side. So they're gonna dive for the noob here. And we get Murky. Okay. Murky is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, this is gonna be good. Garden of Terror, everybody. It is Murky time. He murks, he dies, he murks again. We have him. The frog is in the house. Pedro on Garrosh for the blue team. They are in the lead in the series, and this is match point. Mixin on Zarya. Kati is playing off here. We got Smokey with a fishy deal on level 1 playing Murky. And Oleander is playing Anduin. Over on the right side of the map, we got Amphora on Dehaka. Aulphilia has taken Nubarak with Legion of Beetles on level 1. Quibi on Kel'Thas, Fox on Brightwing, and Setsa is playing Sylvanas. So, let's get the frog in the house. Let's see what Murky can do here. This is not a pick that I saw coming. Initially, I was like, yeah, they're going to try and play Illidan here. What is this going to be? And then at some point, I thought, Vikings? Is that something that they're thinking about? And then all of a sudden, they're going just for... And we get Murky in the house. So, yeah. Either way, Murky is going to rotate around a little bit. We have on level 1, as you would expect, Mana Addict, obviously. We're getting also here the enhanced agility for Dehaka. And already a couple of hits right there for the campers that are coming in on this one. Mixin. Pause in the game. Tactical pause. That's a 3-2-3 moment from the captain of Fischer's Fritz. So coming in here with a quick pause just at the beginning, maybe the tactical conversation about the strategy to be used here was not quite done just yet, and you know, they just need that extra edge over the opponent. So the pause kicks in. Murky's looking up a build. That could of course also be the case. Murky is just at some point like, so guys, what do I pick here? And I was like, wait a second, we're pausing the game, I'm going to link you a build real quickly, and then you can copy that. That's probably the best explanation of this. We'll figure out what exactly is going on, but yeah, we're early in the game, so not even a fight that we had just yet. But let's see what Murky can actually do for the team here as this continues. So we're back, and apparently the culprit was Smokey. I mean, it doesn't really surprise me, to tell you the truth. I don't really know this team too well, but from everything that I know, Smokey is a little bit the problem child of the family. So he already arrived a little bit late in the lobby when we were starting with game number 1. He was on time, by the way, but he really cut it close. So either it was German efficiency, the team was already saying, it's Smokey again. And apparently he was really smoking, and now it seems like he had some food delivery or something. So he apparently needs a bit of special treatment, and that fits just so perfectly with my picture of a Murky player that we're just going to run with that explanation. So it's Smokey's fault. That's all that I'm saying here. We have still a bit of a push down at the bottom of the map. The Inspire mechanic is starting to kick in for the minions as they attacked here. Could have maybe pushed us a bit further, but Nubarak was instantly there trying to ensure that he couldn't really do too much. Garrosh helping to defend in the middle at this point in time. Nothing really too insane happening there from our perspective, as towards the top we have again the next attack as Murky is dealing with Dehaka, or at least trying as best as he can. More and more camps are being taken. As a general rule of thumb, those camps are now spawning at the 30-second mark and not the 1-minute mark anymore. I just want to see some garden terrors in play, to tell you the truth, all things considered here. But with that, we now have a Quibi. This boy is going for the next camp too, and they could actually push with Sylvanas in particular very aggressively through the top lane. I think that's the plan. They're coming in here as we speak, and they're gonna wreak some havoc from the looks of it. Nobody there to defend. That is going to cost the blue team a lot. They're starting to rotate up, but they're a bit late to the party, if you ask me. So this one is going to hurt pretty significantly from the looks here. Yeah, I mean, they're losing half the hit points on the fort already, and they might lose the entire thing. Brightwing jumped back out before I got slapped by Kati, and this is starting to hurt. Yeah, that was actually well done. I mean, Team Space, all they did at the end of the day was take a camp and rotate in. Caught the blue team off guard. Lose Kel'Thas now, though, which is a bit unfortunate, but I guess at the end of the day, it was really worth it. They did so much damage, structurally speaking, that they're going to be pretty happy with that trade. Murky currently working on the objective slightly. We have, by the way, speed barrier, so Indomitable on level 4 for Garrosh, but all that now does is allow Garrosh to just rush into the fight and flip anybody that he wants to straight into the opponent's team. So that's something where they can force fights if they want them and if they present themselves here. Now we have still the first seed up. Nobody has made a play for it yet. The blue team has pulled slightly ahead in experience, but we now have Ophelia moving in too. One of the advantages, obviously, that you have with a Nubarak right now is just the ability to spawn beetles, because you are finding yourself in a spot where you can dive under pretty much any fort and try and get kills, and nobody can really do anything about it. So that's the beauty of all of this. With the new target priorities that we have from forts, they don't defend anymore. So now you have a real shot at coming in and trying to take an opponent down there. So this is what they are very likely going to try and do as all of that continues. Use a Nubarak to be a bit aggressive around it and see how far they can go with it then. Nice invade on the camp as well now though. So we actually have a really aggressive push coming in from Fischer's Fritz. Maybe they're overextending here slightly. Might have to be a bit careful on how they're running this. But for now it worked fine. The problem is that Pedro is insanely low and they gotta be careful, or that's going to be a kill. But they are able to walk away from this, and we still have Murky rotating between the lanes. And this is actually where the team is doing a little bit better. They're getting some really nice experience, and you can tell that the blue team is starting to pull ahead on that account. The Haka doesn't really match that. Now, Murky is at the top, and has now started pushing this. Nobody has gone for the seed, by the way. Has been completely ignored so far. When you just look at experience gains, look at the difference in minion experience here. That's that's a 20% difference, essentially, that we're talking about. So that is a little bit of a problem. It's not a massive deal or anything, but it's definitely a small problem here. And we'll see, I guess. But tells you already the tale. The red team needs to get their act together when it comes to soaking lanes, or they're going to have a problem. And they have 2 globals, so they are definitely able to do that. But it results in the blue team getting an early level 10 that they can now use to try and push for the fort at the bottom of the map. So, yeah, here we go. And interestingly enough, I mean, just look at what Murky set up in the mid lane right now. That's a fort that might even fall. The Haka is, of course, going to attempt to finish the job that they started early at the top lane. So they might be trading structures here. But there's also still that ongoing push at the bottom of the map. Octograb used by Murky to try and buy a little bit more time on that fort. The Haka still fine, has to pop his essence, but is able to survive. Same can't be said of Garrosh. So Garrosh is gone. Pedro is eliminated. Unfortunate for him. And yep. With that, we have some damage done at the bottom of the map on the fort, but the more important part is that this one has been taken down. So, top side also eliminated. Murky with a fishy deal stole the camp away from the opponent and has it now blocking some waves behind the enemy's fort. The siege is finally attempted. I mean, it took 7 minutes, but it seems like they finally said, okay, you know what, boys, let's go and make that happen. So, they're moving in on it. Damage output, we have seen a kill for a kill. Damage output 15,000 and 10,000. Khaldor is currently the top dog in the game. And they're focusing mainly on camps right now. That leading experience is still there. And Brightwing actually did not go for Blink Heal, but instead went for Emerald Winds. So, color me intrigued. I didn't expect that. We still have the... We also have Graviton Surge for Zarya. So no Expulsion Zone. They're trying to push them all in for Ophia. And, well, a little bit mistimed, but Ophia still gets mad damage out of her ult. I mean, damn. They're losing 2 heroes, though. Anduin and Garrosh are both gone. Nice Ophia value, but not nearly enough to get them a kill. So the fight is still lost, despite what Ophia was trying to do here, which means that they are now down 3 heroes, and that's a huge one for Team Space. Garrosh was the first one to fall. Anduin follows the second later. Murky is still doing his solo thing the entire time here and is trying to absolutely wreck them. So far that is working, I would argue. So bottom fort is now getting attacked. Murky is doing a great job here as well. The funny thing is that even with those kills, Team Space hasn't been able to close the gap in experience. Yeah, and Murky got good damage in at bot lane, but is now joining over in the middle. Kati low and is able to get away. Here comes the Octograb, and that's a kill. Big slap coming in from Ophia. And then Anubrak is just dead. No chance for him. But a lot of damage still done at the bottom of the map as they're trying to take that fort out. It's kind of funny because all in all, it really looks decent for the blue team, but losing that last fight is obviously a bit of a setback. If that happens a bit more often to them, then they're going to be in real trouble here. So they have to be mega careful with this. But they are able to get them some value down here, so another fort is eliminated. They are basically a level ahead at this point. For team space, they need some fights. An objective would also do pretty okay. And I'm still waiting for one. As we said before, objectives scale harder into the late game now, and they have also more hit points. So they should be in a spot where they do a lot more work as we have those games unfold. And not gonna lie, I want to see that. I want to see how much they can outdo with the objective in a game like this. If we're gonna have the mad push with Sylvanas, for example, if the blue team gets it. Or how exactly they're going to play this out. Dehaka is leveraging his global more and more now that he has a bit of more time to work with or space at the top lane. There's the double ult again. Yeah, they're trying to land the Zarya ult together with Orphea. The theory behind it obviously makes perfect sense. But the fights are not working for them. Garrosh is now dead too, and they find themselves retreating once more. It's just not really enough damage. Another problem is, of course, also that oftentimes they find themselves in a 4 versus 5 because the Haka moves in and, well, there's one guy missing, one frog missing, and without Murky, that's an issue. The good news is that Murky is still able, oh, nice, to have a massive impact in the game. Murky has allowed them to take several structures down. He has taken mercenary camps away from the opponent. And you can see it, for example, in the mercenary experience. They're tripling what the red team has gotten. So Murky is doing work for them. And then you have the minion experience. I mean, damn son, they're so far ahead on this. This is actually crazy. 25,000 to 20,000 is roughly where we are with this. And now you have the passive experience gains too. So the blue team has a level 16 advantage now. And this is exactly the type of stuff that they need here. Build on those advantages over and over again. And for now, I mean, it's working. They're doing really, really well. So, off we go. Right now they're going for the next seed. And I don't think they're going to be stopped there either. So, as it turns out, we have now the second seed for them. Both teams with 2 seeds. The next one will spawn Garden Terrors one way or another. Team fights are not going too well for the blue team. Everywhere else, when it comes to map control and playing the macro game, that's where they're absolutely excelling. So that's where they're doing great. And they attack the next fort. They're already up at the top, starting to do some work here as they're pushing through this, all in an attempt to eliminate the last outer structure that we have for the team. So, yep, there we go. Down at the bottom of the map. So we're now having still Murky going up against his little counterpart here, against the Haka. Now it's gonna get interesting now, because we have level 16 on both sides. So the seed is spawning, and the spawn position is way better for team space. Murky is already there. 15 seconds a bit too early. Yeah, they're starting to make their way over towards the middle, and let's see what we're getting. The team is setting up. They want this. They're getting ready, as they should. So let's see who claims it. This is the fight for the objective. I mean, right there. This is what all of this has been leading to. We have the leading experience for Fischer's Fritz, but they can't do anything about it because they don't have a talent advantage. The stats advantage is all. Here comes the light bomb. Zarya's ult. And Orphea with her own. But it only lasts for a second. Now everybody on the blue team has to rush away again. Murky already with the Octo Grab. But they're losing Garrosh. Team fights are just not their thing. Absolutely not. Maybe they can kill the Haka. But even that seems like a bit of a stretch. Zarya, she's in trouble too. Mixon tries to get away. But they nearly had him. Seed can be gathered. Murky is still doing some damage in the middle. The team fights, they are just not good for the red tier, for the blue team. Just not at all. They are doing amazingly well, on the other hand, on the map. The question is just simply how much can the objective do now, because this is where Team Space really has to bring this back. They have to use the objective and Sylvanas, leverage that hard, and just come in swinging and take structures down. And I have absolutely no doubt that they're going to destroy a few. The question is just how many. That fort at the bottom of the map is going to fall 100%. Just have to figure out if they can do more than that. Maybe take a keep. And yeah, I mean, so far Murky is defending at the top. Dehaka has been escorting this through the middle. We're 14 minutes in. It's not the hardest scale that we've seen yet, but this is clearly having more of an impact. Garrosh is dead. That's death number 5 on Garrosh. Yeah, he's getting murdered a ton here. So that could actually become really worrisome. Murky is doing okay over at the top lane. Dehaka has destroyed the fort in the middle solo. But at the bottom of the map, this is a keep that we're talking about. The defense is so far going hard, so they will most likely be able to save this. But there's the Sylvanas factor as well. And Kati comes in, tries to push her away. Can do a lot. There's a catapult in the back too. The Garden Terror gone. Ooh, but the damage on Kati. And even in the middle we have the attack. But with Murky also defending the top lane, he can help out with the defense down at the bottom. Octo grab! But they just don't have enough damage to follow up on it. Murky is dead, but don't worry, he's going to Murk again in a second. They're holding on to the keep for now. Experience gap has essentially been closed by Team Space. And, well, they're... Oh, yeah, they get her after all. They get off here. Oh, but the counter kill on Sylvanas. Maybe now. Fine. Look at that value of Fear's ult just keeps going. They want Brightwing, and they might get the Fruit Fly, and they do. So they get 3 kills. Dehaka, Brightwing, and Sylvanas are all gone. And they come in for Anub'arak, who's completely out of mana. He's totally and he's also dead. That's level 20 in their hands. And now they need to get value. And they're instantly jumping in with Murky. They're getting the camp stolen at the top, so that's going to apply pressure here. Maybe they can even go for the next seed once that it spawns. They might have enough time for this, but this was a huge one. All of their keeps are low. Every single keep is low, and this barely is saved by the minion wave. But they are pushing through the middle now. Top side is going to be attacked, of course. They can't really do a whole lot here. They won't be able to get a keep, for example. There's the Octo grab, though. Follow up. And can they take Helthas down? That would be amazing. But Zarya dies. They went too deep, and they pay the price. Yeah, they got greedy here. They got too greedy. Zarya is gone, and that's a massive problem. To be honest with you, all that they needed to do is try and get that seed. Zarya lost is an issue, because now Team Space might be able to claim this one. Yeah, a little bit of a problem by them. Big one, actually. But we'll see if they can now claim a seed later. Okay, somebody just brain farted a little bit and fat fingered the wrong button from the looks of it. That was not what they were supposed to hit. I mean, either way, at the end of the day, what I was also trying to say is that right now, they are still holding on to the game. They have, by the way, not even eliminated the top fort. They were all set on attempting to get the keep in the middle, but they just didn't have the right damage. Now Murky goes down. They're trying to save Pedro again. Brightwing. Pedro. And there it is. And Ophia again with the damage. How much damage does she have? 52,000. Kelthas is sitting at 70k. And now the keep at the bot lane is going to get destroyed. They're going to poke this down. The next seed is spawning. They have everybody back up. If they can get the seed, if Fischer's Fritz can get the seed at some point, they should get a pretty strong objective and be able to do a lot here. Light bomb, essentially ineffective. Does not connect with anyone. Keep is already gone. And there's the Octo grab and the slap. Double kill. Alright, this is the moment. Now they need to try and get the seed. Heal up and try and get the seed. And I'm actually blown away that the red team is still trying to take some structures out. That is a ballsy play, considering that they're only here with 3. Murky is going to attempt to get them the fort at the top. Yeah. Triggers Inspire. Gets a quick slap in. And now we're likely going to get the seed. And this is now 18-19 minutes Garden Terrace that we're talking. Again, the newly strengthened one that are especially empowered. Garrosh with a flip and a stun. If they get the kill against Kael'thas, it would be an absolute disaster for Team Space. Team Space has been fighting to try and force game number 3 the entire time. Now they are... Oh, the gravity lapse. And there's Brightwing. They're barely safe there, but... Whoa, that one was wild. That one was really wild. That could have been an absolute disaster. If Kael'thas falls as the top defense tool that they have and damage dealer, that would have been incredible. So right now we have Garden Terrors. Murky eliminated the fort at the top lane. And with that, we can now try and get a couple of keeps for them. I like this game. It's a really cool series. Lots of back and forth here. Team Space able to take more kills. They've been doing way better in team fights, as I've been saying, but now they have to try and somehow defend here. Murky, yeah, will come back. Egg is a little bit far off. Could have replaced it, I suppose. Once again, Pedro! And he's alive! Garrosh made it and Nubarak is dead. Yeah, that hurts. That really hurts. The Garden Terrors are way stronger right now, as you can see here. And it's a 5 versus 4 now. That makes all of this so much harder. There's a Garden Terror knocking at the top already. We have at the same time the spot lane getting attacked. In comes the next play from Garrosh. He's trying. They get Sylvanas. Here's Octograb. But at least this time Kael'thas is able to get away again. So it's a wild one. A wild 1.5. I mean, all the way up at the top, we now have the next attack coming in. They're trying to get the keep number 2. They had a chance to try and go for the core, and they decided against it. So instead, they're hoping for keep number 2 with the 5 versus 3 that they're running here. I'm actually a little bit blown away that they're not pushing for this harder. It's a 5 versus 3, boys. You can definitely make a move here. Get that minion wave going. But they go for the mercenary camps instead. I'm not quite sure if I would really be comfortable with this, because this is one of the best chances that they had in the entire game to pull ahead here. And they're just waiting for everyone to come back. Given how low your keep in the middle is, I would have probably tried to push a bit harder. It's not that they have another objective coming up in just a second. They would need 3 seeds in order to do that. So it's all more about team fights. Next seed is going to spawn at the top 2. Game number 1 was already super close, and now we're seeing the same in game number 2. So, yeah. 72,000 damage for Fia, 113,000 for Kael'thas. There's the double ult again! Look at that damage! Oh my god! They get the triple kill! They get the quad kill! They could go for the core directly, and I guess they figured that out too. But look at that double ult. It finally worked out for them. They had some success with it earlier, but that's just ingenious. Oh my god! Massive play! Massive play by them. And this wins them the series. Absolutely no doubt about it. They're taking it right here. The core is falling. They claim the 2-0 victory in round 1 of the Underdog Cup. But that was sexy as hell. Zarya or Fia combo. And they win Garden of Terror as a result. GG and well played.